Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing great. As you can tell from the title down below, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite resources when it comes to homeschooling first grade for free. I have actually been wanting to make this video for quite some time now, especially now that we're into like summer break or heading into summer break, depending on where you are in your homeschool. I know there's a lot of parents out there who are either looking into homeschooling for this fall or wanting to learn more about it but not wanting to invest in an actual full-on curriculum. I know depending on the curriculum, it can be pretty pricey. And honestly, in those little years, a full-on blown package curriculum is not a necessity. And I wanted to put this together because if you're wanting to give homeschooling a try or a trial run to see if it will work for your family, but you do not want the expense of trying that, so to speak, then I hope that this video can encourage you to kind of give it a try, see if it works for your family, and things like that. But yes, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So I ended up needing to sit down. I am only like a handful of weeks away from my due date. So standing up and talking just really puts me out of breath right now. So hence the change of location. So if you are brand new to homeschooling, or if you are more interested in doing an on-schooling type method for your kiddos without, like I said, purchasing that full-on boxed core curriculum, the one thing that I did on my very first year of homeschooling was I honestly just kind of Googled what a preschooler needs to know, what a kindergartner needs to know, and things like that. And then now it's like kind of what your first grader needs to know, as we're talking about in today's video, is the first grade. And what I have found is a lot of the things that they need to know, or what might be a prerequisite for kind of that second grade level, is very simple, basic things that you may not even think that you don't need a curriculum for, if that makes sense. So I did want to share with you just a few of the things that a first grader would need to know before advancing on to second grade, starting with the first grade reading and reading comprehension skills. And in first grade, you're going to be reviewing letter sounds, so your child should have learned these in kindergarten, but review and reinforcement may be necessary. And another thing I want to mention as well is, like, if I'm reading through the list, especially when it comes to the first grade, kind of like what the first grader might need to know before moving on to the next grade level, is to always remember that every child is totally different than the last. Every child is going to learn differently. Some may learn quicker, some may take some more time, and that's okay. And that's how come I love schooling, and I believe that's how every child was designed to be. We're not meant to be the same as every single one of our peers sitting around us. So keep that in mind as I'm reading this list. If your child is not quite ready for that yet, or if he is past that, and that's totally fine. And in a way that's good, because they're individual people. But the second thing is that they will need to learn how to identify root words and common word endings. And then know first grade sight words, the reading and using of contractions, identify and use punctuation marks, be able to answer the 5 W's, which is who, what, when, where, and why, and then use context clues to understand new words or phrases, and learn literary terms like plot, setting, characters, etc. And understand and use a book's table of contents by the time they're done with the first grade. And then your first grade writing skills, they will print all upper and lowercase letters, identify nouns, verbs, and adjectives, spell first grade level sight words, write 3- and 4-letter words from phonics skills, and then identify synonyms and things like that. And then it goes on to saying kind of first grade math skills and the things that you'll need to know before you hit the next level. And that is recognize and write numbers 1 to 100, count by 2s, 5s, and 10s. Learn the place values for 1s, 10s, and 100s. Learn beginning fractions, so your half, thirds, and fourths. Understand simple pictures and bar graphs and kind of how those work. Perform basic kind of addition and subtraction with 2 numbers without regrouping or borrowing. Understand that numbers can be added in any order. Solve simple word problems. And then it also goes on to say that your first grader, by the time they're done with first grade, should recognize, your pennies and nickels and dimes and basic money, things like that. And your first grader should also identify days of the week and months and the year and things like that. Be able to tell time by the hour and half an hour. And be able to use common measuring instruments like a scale, a ruler, a thermometer, and things like that. And then to learn how to compare objects by measurements. And then knowing how to draw common 2-dimensional shapes. And the reason why I wanted to share what whoever there is, but what they think your first graders should know by the time they complete first grade is a lot of these things, if you have a master list of everything your child should know by a certain age, then it's really easier for you as a parent to kind of guide them in that direction. And honestly, that is the way to like do a more on-schooling type method, as I mentioned before, without using the core curriculum as your guide, is if you do have a master list like this, which I'll have everything linked down below if you want to actually save it for yourself. But if you have a master list like this, you can honestly, as the parent and teacher, create your own curriculum, and that's where the more on-schooling thing comes in, is you can take what your child doesn't know yet according to what they need to know and create what works for your family and your learning styles, if that makes sense. Now for the part of the video that this video is actually about, which is some of my favorite free resources. I wanted to go ahead and start with the first grade math, one of my favorite sites, and I've actually learned about this a few months ago from my friend Erin at Weeze. I'll have her channel linked down below, and her family uses this curriculum a lot and they love it and have spoken very, very highly of it. So definitely go check her channel out if you want to see it actually be put to use. But the first grade math resource that I have, as far as free printables and everything like that, is called Easy Peasy Homeschool. They have quite literally everything on that site from multiple different grade levels. They have language arts, of course they have the math and history and science and everything, but everything is free. And just as a disclaimer, when I say everything is free, the cost of the actual download is free. However, if you do not have like a computer and a printer and things like that, it obviously won't be. So just keep in mind that you will need like a computer, a printer, and your basic school things to get started with all the free things, if that makes sense. But anyway, Easy Peasy Homeschool has so many great options, and it is a faith-based company. And so if you're looking for a more biblical-based homeschool thing that is also no cost to you, definitely check that out. They have a lot of different options, but that was one of my favorites when it came to first grade math, is their worksheets looked great. They looked fantastic. My second favorite when it comes to math is a website called mathdrills.com, and it's literally what it is. It's just a bunch of printable math drills. So if your student needs help with addition or subtraction, and in the first grade, as we learned earlier, it's really just addition and subtraction that they are working on, maybe some beginning multiplication and some fractions in the first grade. But they have every drill sheet imaginable and every math chems concept imaginable on that website. I will have, as I mentioned, everything linked down below, so if you do want to go to these websites and check them out or download them for yourself, you can take a look at that. But for math drills, mathdrills.com is a great place to go. Another favorite of mine is mathblast.com, and this is the same concept where it's that printable sheet. However, a lot of the sheets are brightly colored and more interactive. So if your student is more visual, but you still want them to have that more like actual worksheet practice and experience, then I definitely recommend MathBlast, because all of their stuff is just really, really fun and kind of really cutesy and just, I don't know, just fun for the first grade. Another really popular one is called k5learning.com. Again, I'll have it linked down below, but it's very similar to MathBlast, where a lot of the things are brightly colorful and interactive and things like that. But they have a lot of copywork practice as well, so if your kiddos do need practice doing like handwriting, especially when it comes to numbers, definitely check out K5 Learning. They have a lot of different options for handwriting, which we'll get into later. Right now I'm on math, getting derailed here. But they also have like copywork for numbers, so you can also do a lot of practice doing that with your kiddos. They have a lot of shape practice, just a lot of really fun things. And if you do want a more structured outline, they do have an option to download a full version. I believe the full version PDF of the first grade math is 60 pages, which is great. And it's only $3.70, I believe. So the actual full-on workbook, if you want the whole book all together, the 60 pages, it's not free because you can download individual sheets for free. But the actual book itself is only $3.70. So if you do want the outline of the full book, that is a great, great affordable option as well. If you are wanting math flashcards, I have found that working with flashcards with my kiddos is great. They love it. I incorporate using flashcards actually outside of my school time. So we'll just do flashcards, kind of incorporate that into our daily activity, whether it be at lunch or at dinner or something like that. But MrPrintables.com has a beautiful, beautiful math set. Again, I'll have it linked down below for completely free. You can download it, print it off. They're adorable. It has numbers 1 through 100 to print off, plus all the like multiplication and division and fraction signs and things like that. If you are wanting a good, just basic kind of flashcard set to go along with your math curriculum, especially if your kiddos need help recognizing numbers and things like that. Another thing I wanted to mention that is free to use as well is if you are wanting, because I know a lot of the really cutely illustrated math flashcards can be pretty pricey, especially if you don't want just a number, but if you want like the little things on the back and things like that, you'll be paying, let's just say, more than nothing for them. But if you do want to kind of design and take what your child is interested in and put those on a flashcard so they actually get excited about using flashcards, I highly recommend using Canva. They actually have like the little postcard sizes that you can design your own flashcards with. It is more time consuming, but however, my little ones are interested into like nature and animals and things like that. I'm going to actually insert a couple pictures here, some of the ones that I designed for them specifically and have printed off, and I'm not sure if I want to laminate them or not. I'm probably just going to leave it at cardstock for now. But I wanted to show you because Canva is a great resource, especially for homeschool parents, and especially if you are doing more on-schooly type, on-curriculum type method, like for the things I'm sharing with you today. You can kind of create your own. You can honestly even create your own worksheets if you want. However, I know that is more teacher intensive. But for flashcards, it's great because you create it once and you can use it for all of your kiddos however many times you need to. So I wanted to mention that in case you do want something that is interest specific, if that makes sense for your kiddos when it comes to flashcards. So for first grade reading, again, I have to shout out Easy Peasy. They have a great language arts that you can choose from, that you can download and print and work with your kiddos. It has spelling word, sight word, handwriting practice, and a lot of great language arts practice as well for that first grade level. If your child does need help with actually learning how to read and working on more advanced reading skill level, I definitely recommend Alpha Phonics, and I have talked about Alpha Phonics on my channel so many times. I'll have the videos that I have talked about it and shared about it linked down below, but there's actually a free PDF version if you guys want to give it a try, and especially for that first grade level when they need to advance on some more skills. It's a great program. Highly recommend that, and the fact that there is an option to download the whole program for free is incredible. Another great resource for printables when it comes to reading, I believe it's called superteachersworksheets.com, but they have a lot of different options. One of the things I liked about this website in particular is it actually gives you the option to download a lot of free books depending on what your child needs help with. So if it's with double consonant blends, if it's with different vowels, short A, long A, etc. It'll give you a lot of different options to download books on what your child needs specifically. So for example, if my little one is struggling doing double consonant blends or even triple, we will download one of the little beginning books that has to do with that, and then with those being the struggle words, or if they're struggling with sight words, you can just print those off and then cut them apart and make your own little books for reading practice. So very similar to like the Bob books, if you're familiar with those, only completely free to you. I think, and this is just me personally, but one of the most undervalued things, especially in homeschooling, is probably the library. We honestly didn't even start using our library until probably the beginning of this year, when my just now first grader was really interested into like picking out his own topics and picking out his own books. I honestly never even really thought about it, to be honest. I didn't even think about it, I don't know why. But anyway, I love our local library, especially for the first grade, because at that point you can go to specific sections in your library and they can pick out so many different readers, so many different options, and the best part is they can pick out things that they are genuinely interested in, which if your kiddos are anything like my kiddos, then anything that they are interested in, they will love learning about, love reading about, and will definitely gravitate towards. So definitely check out your local library. That is a great free option if you are wanting to introduce your child to actual books. In addition to getting books for your kiddos at the library, I'd also get books that they are wanting to learn about. So whether that be with my kiddos, anything animal related, but they can't read yet, I would still encourage you to get those books and do read alouds. I feel like with doing reading aloud with your kiddos is one of the best ways to instill that just honestly love for learning and love for reading, is by just sitting down and reading aloud. And one of the things that I have learned over the past year, especially with actually having 2 school-age kiddos, is that even though we're reading aloud and we may not think they're paying attention, they are like little sponges and they soak up every single thing that they hear and every single thing that we are reading. So it could be like for us, maybe a boring chapter about bugs, but if they're interested in bugs, they will soak that up and be able to tell you everything that they learned. Even if we don't think, like I said, they're paying attention, they're playing, and they're busy doing their best work, which is play. I love letting my kiddos play while I read aloud. And then seeing kind of what they've learned through that is just so much fun. So definitely read aloud, and then you can get all those books for free at your local library. There's another website, I believe it's honestly just called education.com, and they also have a ton of reading worksheets if your kiddos do need some more practice and more structure and guidance when it comes to learning how to read. But that is all I have for reading. So for first grade writing, one of my favorites, I believe it's called, just handwritingworksheets.com, but they have a lot of different things to choose from. They have manuscript if you want your kiddos to learn cursive. They have all the cursive things out there, but they're also customizable. So if you want them to know how to like write a Bible verse or something like that, you can write that down and print it off for them to do copy work on. So it is great, and again, it's free if they do need help with doing copy work. And then another one of my favorite ways to do handwriting practice, and this goes along the mindset of you can have like the fanciest handwriting curriculum, but unless they actually use it on a day-to-day basis and actually get a lot of practice, it's not going to do any good. So my mom always used to say, because I'm a second generational homeschooler, but she always used to say, like, practice does not make perfect, practice always makes better. And so having that mentality of like, unless you are practicing, you will never become better at, because we don't really want to strive for perfection, especially when the kiddos are little and still working on those penmanship skills. My goal with my kiddos anyway is to never really strive for perfection, but just strive to be better than it was the month before or 2 months before. And to have that mindset, especially when it comes to teaching the little ones handwriting. Because I know when you have the day in and day out handwriting exercises and handwriting practices, it's really easy as a parent to be discouraged if they're not improving or advancing right away. So keep in mind that just because you practice a lot doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but as long as they're getting better, that's all that matters when it comes to the actual penmanship skills. Anyway, end of that rant. One of my favorite things to do with my kiddos is getting one of their favorite books and having them honestly just open up their little notebook, the wide line rule notebook, and have them do copy work and practice that way. And for my first grader, he's actually practicing reading as well. So when you're actually getting the notebook out, you're getting your favorite book out, and I say, hey, pick out your favorite section of the book and let's do that copy work. And so he's getting handwriting practice and reading practice, and it's just a great free and affordable way to practice penmanship skills. And then, as I mentioned before, the K5learning.com has everything imaginable on there as well. They also have a lot of handwriting as well. So if you do want some more worksheets where it is structured and ready to go, definitely check out K5 Learning. They have great worksheets for free. So for science and nature study, I was actually not going to add this category. As you could tell from earlier, I was just like reading, writing, arithmetic. But I did want to go and throw this out there because by the time your kiddos get to the first grade, to me, a natural science curriculum may not be a huge necessity, at least in my mind, because I feel like one of the greatest ways that your kiddos can learn about the natural world is to be out in it. And so one of my favorite websites, and honestly just kind of inspiration boards for me, is a program called 1,000 Hours Outside, where it really focuses on your main goal of your day is to have so many hours outside and outdoors. And I feel like it's a whole new world. You can open up a book and learn about trees, but when you're actually outside, touching the trees, doing bark rubbings, doing all like actual hands-on manipulative things with the trees themselves, you learn so much more than you would just behind a book. So with sciences, especially in the little years, I'm kind of torn. But I did want to share with you some of the freer resources that we have found for science and nature study. One of my favorites is ecosystemsforkids.com, and they have all kinds of free printables on there. And they're just really simple printables. It can be like labeling all the bird parts and all the nature parts, all the tree parts, and things like that. But just really basic, simple things for that first grade level. And they're really well done and really pretty as well. Another great resource is called homeschoolcompass.com, and they have free unit studies, and not just the unit studies where you're learning about either the botany or geology, astronomy, whatever it is your child is interested in, but they also have in there, they have some nature games, they have nature bingo, like I'm kind of thrown into them. I'll have some pictures linked up above here for you to look at, and definitely link it down below. And they also have some like handwriting practice and things like that for your kiddos to do. So it's like an all-inclusive. It's kind of similar to like the Gather Around curriculum, where it's not just an actual unit study about whatever topic it is that you choose, but they have handwriting and, like I said, vocabulary and things like that thrown in, but they are completely free to you, and I love that about it. And speaking of Gather Round, on Gather Round they do have a handful of free units to choose from if you do want a simple, like just a week-long study of either birds or Africa or things like that. So you definitely go check that out if you do want to try out an actual science unit study, but at no cost to you. As always, I'll go ahead and mention the local library again, that there are so many science books and nature books at the library, so you can bring home as many as you want and learn as much as you want, because I feel like the possibilities are endless when you do start utilizing the library. I feel like I'm late to the game on that one, but that is a lot of great options for learning about science and nature at the library. Well guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video at that. I hope this helped you get some ideas on kind of how you can start homeschooling at no cost to you, especially if you just want to give it a try and see if it works for your family. I know a big deterrent on if you want to, or you're trying to decide whether or not you're going to bring your kids out of school and introduce homeschooling into your kind of lifestyle is the cost factor. But I wanted to throw this out there that does not have to cost as much as you think. So I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.